All right, ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Vicki, hello. Thank you so much for being with me today and with the folks who are watching this. I am so impressed by you and just your efforts as this Dana Point mom who has made such a difference in such a relatively short period of time. And when you first reached out to us to, just do a simple little thing, it's like, wow, look at this woman go. She's very impressive. And after just hearing how much from one of our captains, he was impressed with your efforts and what you were doing. I thought we have to get to know this lady better and find out what's going on. So I want to introduce you all to Vicki Patterson. She has started an incredible effort to pick up ocean trash. And it started on her paddleboard, I think. And as she was out there enjoying the ocean and what it had to offer, she began to see that there was some trash that needed to get picked up. And so with that effort, with that said, she has started Stand Up to Trash. So Vicki, I wanted to find out a little about you because I'm hoping to inspire people who are like you. They care about their environment and they want to do something. So give me a little bit of background. I know you moved to Dana Point when you were little, but tell us a little bit about that.
So hello, thank you so much for having me, Mrs. Captain Dave. It is very an honor to be here. I appreciate that. So yeah, I grew up in Dana Point, and Strands and Killer Dana were the beaches that I kind of went to when I was a kid. And my mom has always been very much into the environment. So she made us very aware of not just what was going on in our lives, but what's going on around us. So when I'm paddleboarding, I'm not doing it, and it's great that I wish I could be a racer, but so when I paddleboard, I'm out connecting with nature. I'm looking at the fish under me and looking at the different color starfish that are on the reefs at the headlands, and noticing the whales when when they're out there, and the dolphins, and asking them if I could be a part of their little mission around Dana Point. And so I felt that all the gifts that nature was giving me, I wanted to give something back. And so I started, just picking up trash on my board, and I would put it on the deck of my board, and there were days, the waves knock it off, and I turn around and pick it back up because I don't want it blowing away. And then I just started posting it on social. And the more I posted, the more people wanted to get involved. So it was beautiful to see that it wasn't just me that was caring. It was my whole audience that were my friends. They were all like, let's do something about this. This is just amazing. And so I told a friend about it, and he was actually our first donor. He was enabling us to be a nonprofit. And so now I can just take it as a vessel and use it not only just to clean up trash, to raise the awareness, but to provide that education of what can we do better,
Right.
And it's not a thing of pointing fingers or putting a blame on anything, because it's just, it is what it is. And so it's all of us just, locking arms and just being a part of the solution.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I so appreciate what you're doing and the effort that you're making as a business. When we go out there on our trips, we make it a point to pick up balloons. As you know, balloons are something that people love to buy and celebrate with, and sometimes even let go as a memorial or an act of celebration. And they don't really think about where the balloons are going. And so there's a great effort called Balloons Blow. don't let them go. And we probably, well, last year we picked up over 1,200 balloons on our trips. And we could have probably doubled or tripled that, except that people aren't coming out on our trips just to do balloon pickup. So we have to try and limit it to 1, 2, or 3 little stops here and there when we see them. And of course, there are times of year, and we just passed one, Valentine's Day. And so we decided actually just recently, you know, what if we just did a balloon pickup trip after Valentine's Day? It usually takes 2 to 3 days for all the balloons to kind of make their way up into the air high. They go out to sea, then they come down, and then we have to rush around and pick them up before the paint comes off of them, because as you probably have seen, balloons in the ocean for several days, they start to lose all that coating, and then they are looking like a clear jelly. And that's when turtles and even mola, we literally had one of our crew pick a balloon up from the mouth of a mola this Saturday.
Wow.
So, you know, you want to stop that from happening. Rizzo's dolphin feed on jellies. So we want to eliminate that. And of course, the first step is to pick them up. And then of course we have graduation day. So if you're listening to this and you have a grad, don't buy them balloons that are going to get lost up in the atmosphere. Think about maybe a potted plant or something that isn't going to create. Maybe Vicki's got some suggestions. And so I want to finish a little bit about what inspired you, because I always think my experience has been that, so I'm just going to ask you, when was the first time you remember having a connection with nature or an animal in the wild?
Ooh, that is such a good question. I want to ask you the same. I think at a very young age, you know, I couldn't surf when I was a kid. I wasn't that good, but I was a boogie boarder. And so I just remember seeing the dolphins at Strands, and I take my boogie board and go out there. And I remember sharing a wave with a dolphin, and it was just the most beautiful experience I've ever had.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I grew up, my parents had a little beach trailer back east. And so I grew up being at that in the summer months, and I just loved it. I just wanted to be there all the time. I felt such joy, such peace, such a connection with the ocean. I could just, you know, be there all the time. And when most kids became teenagers, they were like, yeah, okay, bye. You know, we're not going to play in the sand anymore, and we're going to move on. And I was like, no, this is better than ever. And I loved it. And my first connection with a wild animal was dolphins on the bow of a boat. And I just, the fact that they came to the boat and they wanted to play and not, you know, not to be fed and not to, you know, not to threaten us, just to come of their own. I'd never experienced anything like that. Up until that point, I'd only ever seen, you know, dolphin in captivity. And that always troubled me, but it was the only way I'd ever seen them. So it just seemed sad, but at least I was getting to see them. I have a little different take on it now, but you know, they're ambassadors anyway for their species, and it's so amazing to see them out in the wild. There's nothing like it. So like you, we want to try and keep cleaning up our area, and so that kind of a background definitely impacts things. But you said something when we talked before, and I love this. You said, you know, you don't have to live by the ocean to want to make an impact on the ocean. So why don't you speak to that?
I think there's a slide about that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so the research is there as far as watershed. So you could be living in Michigan or Illinois, or any inland. You don't have to live on the coast, and a cigarette butt or something blows out of your window on accident, because that happens too. Uh,
Right.
could end up in a gutter, and then the rain takes it into the storm drain. The storm drain goes into the river, and the river connects to whatever body of water and ocean. So if somebody's living in Chicago, Illinois, it can make it down to into the Gulf in
Right.
and so to most people don't understand that connection. They don't understand that all the waterways connect to the ocean. And so it's important for us to provide that education element instead of just the raising awareness, just to bring that education to it, because you don't know until you know.
Right.
So that's why we're not in a position of blaming,
Right.
because you don't know until you know, and you offer education, and then people will have their aha moments when they have it,
Right.
and when they do, it's amazing, and then there's another arm to lock. And so yeah.
I love that. I love that. Well, I wanted to keep this slide up for just a little longer, because you have here 30 ways to be an ocean steward. And I'm assuming that these are on your website. Is that right? To be
This is new, so I
okay.
haven't been able to put it on the website yet.
Well, perhaps we could share it with people who are, or they can take a screenshot right now if they would like. I think these are really awesome. What would you say are your top 5? Someone says 30 things. What would you say your top 5 are?
Ooh,
Besides attend one of your beach cleanups.
yeah. Number 9, pick up trash on your walk, because 80% of marine debris starts on the land. So that's a really important one.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just think they're all so, like, everything kind of relates to the next.
They do. They do. I'll tell you some of my favorites. I think that, saying no to bottled water, soda, and other plastic bottled beverages is awesome. We actually just instituted water boxes here in Dana Point. We'll be doing a big unveiling. In fact, by the time this gets aired, people will have seen it last night at the opening program for the Festival of Whales. But we're the first whale heritage site in North America, and we're actually the first harbor to have our own branded water boxes. So we no longer have bottled water, and we're hoping that the whole harbor adopts that, not just the whale watching companies, but the whole harbor. So that'll be a big one. And then of course, having your own water bottle is huge, and using, filtered water to just fill that up is a big one. I love the plant a veggie or fruit garden. You've had a veggie and fruit garden for a long time.
Yes. I think I've been gardening since I was a little girl too. My mom was we always had to pull weeds and do something in the garden on Saturday before going out and playing with our friends. So we pretty much grow, I think I have 7 raised beds, 4 fruit trees. We have a compost, a worm bin. And so it doesn't happen overnight, So if that sounds overwhelming to people, just start small. Start with an herb that you can throw in your food, like a basil or thyme. Start small and see how it goes. And that's great.
And this is a perfect time of year. You're out and about, and people are selling tomato plants, and that's, especially the cherry tomatoes. I'm going to make a bit for cherry tomatoes. One of the easiest things you can grow, and they just smell so yummy to just pluck them right off the vine like that, and just have some fun with it. Put 1 or 2 in the yard somewhere, and stick a stake in the ground. They don't need a lot of care. And when it comes to pesticides, I recommend people use something called diatomaceous earth. It's the food grade, and you just dust your plants with it, and the aphids don't like it, the green worms don't like it, and they go someplace else. And it's, it's very eco-friendly, so you don't have to deal with any of the other sprays and things like that. I don't know, do you have a favorite pesticide type replacement?
No, I love that you know that, and that's what I use as well.
Awesome.
Uh,
I love it. That's great. That's really great. And then, sharing things with friends is great. And the thought I had when I saw that is not just sharing things and, hey guys, can I give this to you? I don't take it to the dump, just see if there's anyone else who has a use for it. You never know. We have some great places in town you can donate things to, and they'll recycle it. And if there's nobody local here who wants it, then they have other places that can really use it. They don't mind that something's a few years old. They'll take it and they're grateful for it. But also doing things with friends is big. Having, hey guys, do you want to go to the beach and do a cleanup like you're doing? So tell us about, I'm going to flip slides now, and tell us about the beach cleanup day. So one of the things I loved was, not just giving things to friends and sharing things with friends, but also doing things with friends. And you certainly inspired that. And you are now doing these beach cleanup efforts. So I'd love to tell people what that looks like for two things. One, if they're local, they can join you and just have fun. You are making them into like a kind of a party with a purpose sort of thing, a beach party with a purpose. And then you also have inspired, I think, young people to do similar activities. And someone can do something like this wherever they are. They can do a lake beach cleanup. They can do a river cleanup. They can do a park cleanup. They can do a lot of different things wherever they are. So tell us about the beach cleanup.
So the beach cleanups are really, really fun. And I love that you brought up that it's a party, because I have had so many people come up to me and say, I never knew picking up trash would be so much fun. There's been meetups that people just, Bob, Mark, no way, man, I haven't seen you for 10 years. Oh, that's great. We're here for the beach
That's
together.
great.
Yeah, it's just been really, really fun. And the community has gotten back, has gotten behind it. Jim from Coffee Importers brings coffee and hot chocolate and donuts down. So when we're checking people in, they can enjoy the coffee and hot chocolate. Then we hand them a bucket and grabbers. And then we just say, kind of go off and do wherever you want to clean. Diane at Westwind Sailing offers kayaks and stand-up paddleboards, so they can do like an on-the-water cleanup as well. If some aren't brave enough, they think they're going to fall in, but it really brings it home. From what you and I see when we're on the water all the time, people are like, I never knew this much trash could be in the water. And that brings up, people will check in and they'll say, I don't think we're going to find anything today. It looks really clean. And an hour later, an hour and a half later, they come back with, 10-pound bag of trash. And then I'm like, okay, just wait till the end of the day. And at the end of the day, there's a big pile. And, people are amazed at what a clean beach, how much trash there is.
Well, look at that. 2,802 pounds, 0.6 pounds of trash has been removed. That's incredible. And then 1,910 participants. That's phenomenal. Congratulations. Go. That is amazing. So I'm super impressed. Now, I do want to say a shout out to Dana Point and to the Harbor Partners, because we here in Dana Point, they take this stuff pretty seriously. And so they have put up a lot of different filters at where the water gets washed out to try and collect as much of that as possible. I mean, there's a lot of effort that goes on behind the scenes all the time to minimize this. The problem is it it just isn't going to take care of all of it. And then, of course, some of it blows into the ocean. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this can reach our oceans. And then when we have huge rains like we've had, and it gets into, our waterways, and then it just travels down, there's not a lot they can do. And you see that from the air if you look at, or even if you come down to the beach after a day of rain or two of rain, you see all that brown water, like over at Doheny, where it's come down through that river that, is normally a tiny little 8-foot stream. And now it becomes a really big river, and it just brings all that trash in. And there's not anything we can do to minimize that, at least at this point in time. And and then it just dissipates out from there. So, but we do a lot here in Dana Point, and Laguna Beach also does a lot. So I want to make sure we don't give the impression that things aren't happening. They are, but we need citizen effort like this. So this last one that you did was really cool. Tell us about that and what the next beach cleanup has to offer.
So like I was saying, the environmental education aspect of the cleanups kind of brings it all together. So we call it Lunch and Learn. It's at 10:30. And so it's kind of in the middle where people are still collecting trash, they're weighing, and then they're going and sitting down on the Ocean Institute has loaned us their wharf, and it's just a beautiful backdrop. This is a picture of Amanda from Pacific Marine Mammal Center, and she was talking about the fishing gear that gets stuck around the sea lions. And right at that time when she was talking, Loki, one of their they rescued Loki last year. I don't know if you remember. Loki had it was wrapped around
his neck, yeah.
And so they had a rescue sea lion come up, and as if to say hello and thank you.
Right on cue.
Yeah, so we were just applauding, and just
That's was so cool.
A really nice moment. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so we
beautiful.
think Environmental Day, something that's going on, within the month. So each month it's a different topic. Last month was Watershed. This one will be about the whales, which is just so exciting for you and I both. Is our passion and our love.
The date for the next one
is March 6th during the Festival of Whales,
which is tomorrow. If you're watching this when it's being aired live, which is Saturday, it is tomorrow. And is that too late to sign up?
No, we do on the spot registration as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. And that's, what time should they arrive?
So normal arrival time is 9 a.m. But just come. We're pretty much ready by 8:30. At 8:30, and we just go throughout the day and serve lunch, and then people are free to go home.
I love it. I love it. It's so fun. And I did want to just quickly address the fishing line issue, because Captain Gary, who is kind of how we got connected, is one of our captains. And Gary has I could tell you story after story after story of Gary and how he saves animals. Wow, this guy, he's something. And he, got so grieved by seeing so many birds and sea lions with fishing line around their necks and their wings and in their beaks and hooked and everything else. And he thought, where's it coming from? And he thought, maybe because I see the birds on the jetty a lot, I'll go check out the jetty. And he walked the jetty and found a lot of discarded fishing line. And again, there are recycle posts or tubes there for the fishing line, and they have collected a lot of it from people who've put it in, but a lot of folks maybe aren't aware of what the recycle tubes were for. They weren't labeled, so unless you knew, hey, that's what this thing is. It wasn't labeled. So Gary reached out, he got the labels, and then he got additional recycling tubes put onto the jetties. But once every 2 or 3 weeks, Gary walks the jetty, and he has collected buckets and buckets of fishing line and hooks. And what would happen is, a fisherman casts and it gets tangled and and they just clip it. And then the ocean comes around and loosens it. And then it is able to get picked up by the animal, or the animal gets stuck on it right there. So he has been getting volunteers, and he was able to get some volunteers from folks who'd actually attended some of your trash pickups. And I think he's pretty well set with volunteers for the next few months. So we're not going to talk too much about that, but he said it's hard being on the jetty with more than 2 or 3 people, and he doesn't want there to be, any accidents. So he's taking care of that. But that's just really fun. We're super proud of him and the effort that he's taking, because as you mentioned, and as Amanda was talking about, seeing that discarded line wrapped around an animal's neck and knowing there's no way that animal's going to get itself free. And so let's get the problem solved, before then. And, then it won't happen. So thank you for that, for helping Gary find the right people. Yeah. So, okay. So I want to go ahead and, wrap this up. I think that we need to get folks over to you, and you have a great website, standuptotrash.com, which is awesome. And we can email you, find you on Facebook, Instagram, and get involved. So tell me what your vision is for this, Vicki. Over the next year, what do you want to see done?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like I've reached the point where I thought I could be, and we're only a year into it. So I definitely want to create more partnerships. So I get asked every day to, come clean up Newport, come clean up San Diego, come to the East Coast. You should see Florida. So I would definitely open more chapters and just have a cleanup, like whatever cleanup day.
Right.
Beach has its own, cleanup. So that's the next goal.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned something about young people, and you had an encounter with a young lady, I think, at the last cleanup. Why don't you talk about that? Because I would love there to be, a handful of kids maybe who watch this. And if you're watching this right now, and you're a teenager, or you're about to be a teenager, you can make a difference, a huge difference, because there's something powerful about a young person who's got a passion for something. People listen to you, and you can be that young person that steps out and says, I want to do this. And I don't want things to be like this. I want to make a difference. So Vicki, what do you have? Tell us about that.
So we are starting a new junior ambassador program. I think there's almost more kids that come and attend the cleanups, and that they range from first graders on up to the high school age. I just want to say, like, in high school, I didn't think at all about cleaning the beach. That's not where I was, but these kids come and they're so excited.
Wow.
So we have a new junior ambassador. Her name is Kaylani. She'll be at the next cleanup on March 6th. And if I get from the age of 5, her friends were playing water balloon. They were doing a water balloon fight. And she was like, no, this is going to end up in the ocean. The animals are going to get hurt. They're going to die. And she sat and picked up all the water balloons and didn't participate. And that was when she was 5 years old.
Wow.
So she just she said she drives with her parents, and she notices all the trash on the freeways when she drives, and she really wants to make a difference. So she's starting a little club. So I think she's doing it up to 8th grade. So if there's kids out there that want to help and be a part of her club and they're just going to take, I'm like, this is your platform. Just you lead the way. She's so
Right.
inspiring to me.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. So
That's,
she'll
you
be
know,
there. Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of highway trash, I don't know if you know this, but the trash pickup at the highway stretch, for Dana Point, which is the dolphin and whale watching capital of the world, is that trash pickup is sponsored by Dana Wharf and us. So together we have been, we did it, I think, for about 6 years, 7 years on our own. And then Dana Wharf said they were interested in doing it too. And so together we are sponsoring that effort as the world's whale capital. So I'm really proud of that. I think that it just speaks volumes again about our city and how we're setting a standard here on a lot of levels, the city level, the official level, as well as just the citizen effort. And it goes all the way down to kids. And I love that. And we can really be an example of what other cities and towns can do around the country or the world. You never know where you're going to get invited to next, Vicki.
Yeah, I love it. And I did notice those signs and I noticed how clean it was in those areas. And that was one of the things I wanted to mention. Besides wanting some of your brownies, I did want to mention I saw those signs and you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, well, if we drive by, we pay them. They do the cleanup because there's, it's a little scary being next to the freeway like that. And so we pay them. And if we drive by and I see trim, like, hello, have you been out there lately? We gotta pick that up. So they've been very good overall, though. Very, very good. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share?
No, thank you so much for having me. It was an extreme honor to be here.
Well,
Thank
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for being an example. I hope that this inspires other people and especially young people to make the kind of difference that you're making. It's really special. Thank you.
I love what you're doing with your ocean education trips too. You're inspiring me. So I appreciate it.
We need to talk about the fundraiser that you're doing on our trip.
Oh, yes.
Right. So
yes.
we are sponsoring a stand up to trash special trip. And if you're interested in that, Vicki, can they reach out to you by email or go to the website? How are you letting folks know about that?
Yeah, so we're getting the flyers made right now, and I was going to kind of confirm it with you, and then after that, we'll probably announce it at the beach cleanup during the Festival of Whales.
Great. Well, that'll be a fundraiser, and we'll hopefully have a full trip, and we can get folks out there, and we will stop and pick up every balloon that we see.
Yes, I love that you can make a special trip just for balloons. I want to be on that trip.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
we can just go have some fun.
Yeah.
All right, it sounds good. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you around and about here at the Festival of Whales.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.